All right, measuring the current gap. Rear isn't too bad. I'm just gonna give it I'll say 2 inches to the little line right there. But looks like I can maybe drop it 1 inch. Probably have to roll my fenders, but so it looks like drop it 1 inch on the driver's side. And looks about the same in the rear passenger side, about 2 inches to that little seam line, which isn't actually this height of the tire, but I can probably drop this one 1 inch as well. And we'll see what we got over here. Looks like it's about an extra inch here. So front, I could probably drop it 1.5 inches. Safely, looks like about 3 inches to the seam line. So I figure 1.5 inches would give me, close it up pretty good. So that's passenger side. Oddly enough, driver's side is a lot less. Looks like it's about 2.5 or so maybe 1 inch in the driver's side. So that'll be weird. So we'll take a look at that. All right, we got the diff brace, which I plan on replacing. Rear lower control arm, Swaybar, bushing, Endlink. I believe the bushings, I think that's the trailing arm. Tow arm, I guess, is back there. I think I'm replacing that. I got so many parts, it's hard to keep track. I guess I'll figure out as I'm going. I'm just gonna start unbolting all this crap. And hope for the best. All right, got the rear control arms off. It's 17 millimeter, 12 millimeter for the Endlinks, 17 millimeter for the attachment point up here, and then on the driver's side it had some, I guess, some kind of sensor. I'm not sure if it's some level. I think this might be the hill assist or something. This was a 10 millimeter. Of course, it's the same on the other side. And for the Swaybar bolts, here and here, they are 12 millimeter, and there's 2 here, 2 on the other side. I'm gonna see if I can kind of push it through sideways and not have to pull my exhaust off, which is a pain in the ass to level up for a one-person job to put it back on. So I'm gonna hope I can pull this off without removing the rear part of my exhaust. So I'm not sure if that'll happen. So that's where I'm at now. So I'm gonna pull this rear sway bar off. Quick comparison between the Super Pro rear Endlinks and the stockers. I don't have my scale with me, but these do feel and look significantly stouter, especially with the bushings. I mean, these things are pretty small, and these are pretty fat chunks. These look about the same up here, but it does look significantly better if I was to say for longevity. Materials look a little bit better, so hopefully they'll actually turn out to be better. So I got my rear sway bar off without taking my exhaust off. I was able to kind of work it through out the side. Got my lower control arms off. Right here, here's the stock sway bar. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull out the Yellow Speed Racing rear control arms and we can take a look at the comparison. Yellow Speed adjustable lower control arms versus the stock control arm. Sorry about the sound. Once again, my neighbor seems like to do yard work every moment I'm getting ready to film something. They happen to be doing yard work simultaneously every time. So I guess I have good timing with that. But anyways, I mean, the Yellow Speed is a little bit heavier. It's adjustable with this adjustment nuts here. I can spin this out. I'm actually going to line these up and spin this out to match. All right, so pretty much just lined everything up with the stock, lined up the holes in the back as good as I could, ran it next to each other and lined up the holes at the top just for the baseline. And what you do is you spin this whole piece, you loosen up this nut here. I'm not sure what size it is, it's pretty freaking big. You spin it out, the whole unit spins out through these threads here, back in here. I wouldn't recommend spinning it out super far. Just use this to get the initial stock length. Once you do that, you lock this nut back in, tighten it up, and then this headpiece will actually be able to spin if these are loose. You would loosen up this one, and you can actually spin this out just like you would rotate this piece. Just make sure it spins inside of this. Spin this out. I guess this would be the alignment shop. Could spin this out, and then they would lock down these two nuts to lock in the camber that you want for your rear. So I'm just going to start with the stock. Maybe it's a little bit more pushed out at the bottom, but I'm going to go with this exact setting on my other control arm, and then we'll go from there for when I install it, and then I'll let the alignment shop kind of dial it in. So I'm going to probably add up a little bit of camber to my rear wheels just to tuck the top in just a little bit, since I am running 265s, and I'm probably going to drop it about 1 inch in the back. So nothing extreme, or no crazy fat girl sitting on the car flatness, but that's my goal. So just to have a little bit. All right, we have the Super Pro rear sway bar, stock rear sway bar. Of course, the Super Pro is nice and shiny and clean because it has not been installed yet, whereas the stock one is pretty gummed up. You have the stock rubber bushing, kind of mushy. The Super Pro bushing, actually, which is open on the side versus the back. I'm not sure if that for any special reason. They both have lockdowns here, so they won't move around once mounted. Super Pro is 3-way adjustable. I'm probably going to install it at the center adjustment. Has a much better coating. The stock is just, whatever paint. Super Pro's got their special coating that they use. We got the locks, which are coated as well. So I'm gonna head and see if I can put this on without having to pull my exhaust, just like I was able to remove this one. Hopefully I can, and I'll go from there. All right, we have the interior piece already removed. If you're not sure how to remove it, you can watch my taillight video. I went ahead and immediately removed the rubber floor mat, rear cloth mat, pull out these little corner styrofoam pieces, and then it's just 5 pop clips to pull out these, and they kind of just swoop out. They just swoop out like that. Exposes these bolts back here for the rear coil, shock, whatever it is. Remove these, and since I have the lower control arms already removed, they'll just drop down. So I'm gonna have to get one of my kids to hold it so I don't just freaking drop it on the freaking floor and break something. But I'll go ahead and pull those out, and then I'll measure up their length and compare it to the Yellow Speed Racing inverted coil, and get them dialed in about the same, and then I'll just subtract 1 inch from it. So that's my plan, because I would like to drop about 1 inch in the back and see how it lines up. All right, I have the stock rear piece and then the Yellow Speed Racing rear coilover. It comes 5mm preloaded, and you can tell it doesn't have any movement, so that sounds accurate. I don't feel like messing with it. I'll leave it locked in from the factory. If I run into issues, then I'll come back to that. But I did spin this out, loosen this up, spun this out to 15 inches from the bolt hole to the mount point up here. The stock was a little over 16 inches from here to the bolt hole, and I wanted to drop it about 1 inch, so I took it 1 inch from here to here. So I made it about 15, so it was really about 1 inch and 1.1 inches or something like that. But a nice round 15 sounded good. Spun this down to lock it in place. I didn't torque it down or tighten it really heavy. I'll wait until I get it on the car and put into the lower control arm, and so I can give this a little bit of adjustment here, so I can, in case this isn't perfect, I can get it locked in place. Then I'll come back and give this a couple uggas and get it tightened down. So everything looks good. My only issue I'm thinking about I may have would be rear tow arm and possibly the trailing arm bushings. So I'm gonna have to look at those.